Welcome to Gear Up with BigIron.
If we ever have your sale, we're going to work as hard as we can to make sure it's the best sale we ever had.
Well, hello everybody, Mark Stock here with Ron Stock, and we're gearing up with BigIron. And today we're going to have some exciting discussion with Don Van Houweling, one of the principals at Van Wall Equipment. And Don, you make your residence where?
I actually live right in central Iowa, a small suburb outside of Des Moines. I spent the last 30-some years in a small town called Perry, Iowa, so I'd kind of say that that's kind of home base.
So I'm taking you're probably an Iowa State fan.
You got that right.
And Iowa State, the football season is about ready to kick off underway. Are you an avid football enthusiast?
Above average. We are supporters, and of course, being an Iowa State graduate and being in my family now, we've got 4 generations that have graduated from Iowa State since the 1920s. And so I'd have to say, yeah, we're pretty familiar with Iowa State athletics, big supporters, and it does look like maybe we'll have a team that can compete pretty well in the Big 12 this year.
Yeah, that'll be exciting. So you graduated from Iowa State in what year?
Oh, I've forgotten. Anyhow, after I did graduate, I had the opportunity to go to work for John Deere. And I kind of went through their management development program and worked for them for 10 years before I went and talked to my boss after doing some traveling. And I said, maybe I'd be a better John Deere dealer guy than I would a factory marketing guy. And he said, you ought to give it a run. And so they introduced me to the John Deere territory manager at the time. And he introduced me to a gentleman by the name of Barney Wall, who was a fighter pilot in World War II. His dad had a dealership during the war, and Barney was running that dealership and had a couple of daughters, and they weren't interested probably in taking over. And so Barney was looking for a junior partner that could, come in after him. And I was introduced to Barney, and Barney was kind enough and supportive enough to let me come in as a junior partner. That happened in 1978.
And he had how many stores at that time?
One.
And then
one little Main Street store where everybody on Friday night came in and said hi.
Hey, those were the good old days, weren't they? And then when did you expand?
Well, what happened was the gentleman that had the dealership just 14 miles west of us had a heart attack, and he and Barney were the best of friends. And he called up Barney and said, hey, if I should probably bow out, and I'd love for you to have this dealership, and with Don there, maybe you guys can swing it. And back then it wasn't in John Deere's DNA to have multiple stores, but they did approve it. And so I had an opportunity then to have a store in Woodward and another one about 14 miles west or so in Perry. And that's how it kind of got started.
And now Mother Deere, they changed that whole vantage point in that view. How did that all aspire?
Well, I'll tell you, I was right in the middle of all that discussion and kind of got moved around a little bit as that happened. But they did decide then to allow me to have a third store that was about 14 miles east. And that was a little town called Madrid. And I think they found out that, you could run 3 stores if you kind of knew what you were doing. And I think they saw some benefit in that. And then over that next 10 years, we saw some stores, stores joining together, 2 and 3 and so. But it was still kind of off the charts to go above that. And I did have that opportunity in 2000 then. And believe it or not, they approved it. And that was kind of, after that, it was kind of, well, you keep performing and we'll keep approving opportunities. And I think they did that, started doing that then in after 2004, 2005, and then over the last, 15 years or so, that's kind of been the change. But I think they realized that scale was going to be important as farmers kept getting larger. And so they said, it probably makes sense that those two be balanced.
Correct. So now you have 35 locations?
31, right?
Well, yeah, we have over 30. That's correct.
Over
Well,
30.
we added a location in St. Paul and Fargo here this last 90 days. So yeah, we do have over 30 stores.
Well, what a lot of people probably understand, and maybe some don't understand, is you're into power sports, you're into lift trucks. So how did that all come about?
Well, one of the things that I thought was probably important was that we be somewhat diversified. You are now seeing the same thing that we've seen for the last, forever in ag, that it kind of, it has its season and then it doesn't have its season. And so the economics of farming really move around a lot. And so I said to myself, John Deere, you're pretty good at lawn and garden equipment. Why don't I focus on that a little bit too? And so I opened a couple of purely lawn and garden type stores, and also had what we called power sports, would have been boats and Polaris and different things like that. And I slowly built that business up, and then realized that there's also some opportunities in pure power sports. So we recently opened a 55,000 square foot facility on Interstate 80 that we call Stroom, that has all of the major brands, from, Indian, Polaris, Honda, Ducati, KTM, and I can go on and on. But
Wow.
It's kind of, we said we're going to be the Bass Pro Shop of power sports, and that's kind of that's kind of our focus now. Deere also, a lot of people may not understand, but Deere is very much involved in the golf and sports turf business. When you see these golf events, there's specialized mowers that mow that grass and do those bunkers and take care of all that. And John Deere builds that specialized equipment. And Toro was always a leader there. Jacobson was a leader, but John Deere over the last 10 years now has become a leader as well. And so I have 9 states where I'm responsible for that product, for all the golf courses and sports turf facilities, baseball parks, all that. And that's a big part of our business now. So that's another John Deere piece that we have. We also have light construction, which means everything from about 120 horsepower on down when it comes to excavators and skid loaders and that type of thing. And then one of the businesses that was recommended to me in my 20s group was the fork truck business, because very intensive relative to servicing, parts and servicing, and that's really the secret sauce to this business anyway. So we've decided to be responsible for the states of Nebraska and Iowa for Doosan at the time, which is, now been purchased by the folks that build skid loaders, competitive skid loaders. So that seems to be our DNA now, to be have multiple brands, have multiple industries, and try to balance the ebbs and flows of the farm economy.
So you have been in business for a number of years, and I always like to ask those folks that have been very successful, to give us two secrets to your sauce. What do you think you attributed the majority of your success to?
I've invested all of my, number one, any extra money I had that I was able to hang on to at the end of any year, I reinvested in my service platform, adding service facilities, adding storage facilities, adding technicians, adding tools, adding training. I said, whether a customer buys a machine or not in 24, that machine's got to run for him. It's got to be reliable, and he's got to be confident in it. So I'm going to be the guy that's going to do that no matter what the economy. And so there's really 2 things: reinvesting the money back in the business, and then reinvesting it in aftermarket support services.
Mm-hmm. So that was one of your secrets, and I suppose you have a handful of really good, talented people.
As you know now, it is all about people, both internally and externally. And boy, I told you earlier that when we were talking before the podcast, how blessed that I have been to have such a tremendous group of people around me. I'll say I got this John Deere group around me. That's my external group. I've got these other OEMs with their specialists, and I learned from all of them. Even though we're in different industries, they're all important. The Spader group that I'm part of is a important part of my learning and understanding process. And then I'm very fortunate that all three of my sons, who also graduated from Iowa State University, one in business and then went to Michigan to get his MBA. He's also a CPA. He's my chief operating officer.
Oh, wow.
He's very capable. And I've got my middle son, that's Mike. Then my middle son, Matt, he's my IT and marketing guy, and he went to Iowa State in IT. And then my younger son, Mark, who helps with the family farming operation, as well as our transportation division, got his degree in transportation and logistics at Iowa State. So all three of my sons are part of the business and are able to do their function very well. I also would be remiss if I didn't tell you that during the ups and downs of all this, as I was trying to stay in business, and my wife, Terry, who's now retired, worked for the company for 30 years. And if it wasn't for Terry, I can promise you I wouldn't be here today.
Ron here. We want to thank you for doing business with Sullivan's and with BigIron. And I know you've got a relationship with Dan and Luke Sullivan for a lot of years, but what can you tell me about that relationship? Obviously, it's been successful.
In any business, it's always about integrity and trust. And I trust Dan and Luke. I trust the way they do business. When you do business with them, whether you're internal or external, you know that things are going to be straight up, they're going to be fair, and they're going to do it the right way. And to me, once I go external like this, that's who I've lived my whole life trying to be and tried to share that with my team. And I found the same thing with Dan and Luke.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, that's awesome. Excellent people. Well, let's talk about this big event that's going on here at Farm Progress. And you've had auctions in conjunction with Farm Progress in the past, and this one here, you got a special tagline for this big event. The biggest and the best.
We tried. We've had a couple of small auctions. We had a little bit of room there at the Farm Progress show. We have a site that's right next to the show, a facility right there that is one of our training centers, and we used that and maybe had 10 or 12 different items that we would bring to try to spice it up a little bit. And but then I got to thinking about it. I said, you got tens of thousands of people that come to that show, and they don't get to see premium, high quality equipment in an auction setting live anywhere like what we could provide. One of the things that we need to make sure everybody understands is Iowa is John Deere country, and Iowa is premium farming country, and my customers take exemplary care of their equipment.
Yes,
even when I have it on my lot, I keep it under roof. It's always under roof where they are. And Iowa farmers really take care of their stuff. So we have premium used equipment. Well, I said to the Farm Progress folks, I said, would you give me a space big enough to really do something significant this year? And they did. And so we've got a large space where for the first time, we can have a very significant amount of equipment available to these many Farm Progress customers that are going to be at the show. And they're now going to get to see it. So it's going to be a combination of, it's going to be there, plus it's going to be virtual. So we're going to give people an opportunity to purchase some of the best farm equipment in a true auction setting that's both virtual and live. And here it is. So it's going to be special.
Yes,
awesome.
It is going to be special, and we're excited about that particular event. And and I'm sure the machinery market right now. Give your perspective on what's going on in the ag equipment market from the dealer perspective.
Well, in 22 and 23 were remarkable years in terms of new equipment sales, and the sales growth, that graph was just up, up, up. Well, that was a function of supply and demand as well as commodity prices. And as commodity prices have gone down and as supply has gone up, it's not a problem to purchase new equipment from myself through John Deere. At the same time, we took in a lot of pre-owned equipment during that time. It's interesting. I've got some corn heads and platforms that I actually sold 18 months ago that really, for the first time, we've got them available to sell to the customer.
Really?
And prices are always a function of supply and demand. So the value of used equipment has gone down relative to the value of new equipment. So right now, it is a perfect time to be taking the opportunity to buy premium pre-owned equipment, because I will tell you, in a year from now, it'll be a different story, because new equipment sales will go down and pre-owned equipment will now be just at a very balanced point. So it's a great time to be in the market and take advantage of premium pre-owned equipment because the pricing is lower today than it was last fall for customers.
Now, has the John Deere mother company, have they slowed down production so that will also come into play?
Yeah, I would expect that we'll see a 20% reduction in new units shipped to dealers in the 24, maybe the 12 months from March of 24 to March of 25. And so that will mean that there's that also, that's going to limit the number of used units that are going to come into the market as well. So this thing moves really quick, both ways.
So what I'm hearing you say is if somebody's looking to do some upgrading of equipment and they haven't done it in the last, year to 36 months, now is the time to do it. That's what I'm hearing you say.
You're 100% right. And what's interesting is they can do it at this auction with confidence. So the other thing that your folks are doing that's a little bit different than normal is if a customer also has a piece of equipment that he hasn't updated that's on the farm, you folks from BigIron are willing to go out, see him, and help him get that sold so that he doesn't have duplicate equipment on his place. So that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, I always tell farmers selling at auction, if you're going to your auction and buying at auction, you can now sell at auction. It's a level playing field. So you hit that right on the money. The farmers out there, we go right to the farm gate, take the pictures right there, and nothing shows better, as you know, Don, than against the machinery shed with the John Deere emblem on the door, farmer proud, and right by his shed. We close the doors, take pictures right by that shed.
And we've always noticed too that we say it all the time. Farmers don't collect combines. Okay, they might collect a tractor, they might collect a pickup truck or something, but very seldom do they collect planters and sprayers and combines. So with the list of equipment, and people can just go to SullivanAuctioneers.com and BigIron.com and see this very impressive list that is going to be sold coming up here during Farm Progress. There'll be great opportunities to buy the planters and the sprayers and the combines and the tractors.
Yeah, there's going to be a complete inventory of items. It'd be something for everybody.
Nice.
I'll tell you what, the biggest and the best is taking place during Farm Progress. Van Wall Equipment is going to be hosting this public inspection in conjunction with this auction. And it'll be a 2-day sale, and we are excited, and we want to thank Don and Van Wall Equipment for this unbelievable opportunity. You don't have to be at Farm Progress to participate, but if you are going to Farm Progress, you will be able to see this machinery, and you can bid on it like you have always done on a Sullivan Auctioneers auction. Just go to the website and get registered and click away, and just remember, one more time and you just might own it. That's what we always tell you.
Bid one more time, you just might own it. And if you've never been to Farm Progress, you owe it to yourself to get there, and this would be an excellent icing on the cake to go see what Van Wall is selling at auction the right way at Sullivan Auctioneers.
two other things that I'd like to mention is that John Deere is also making available special low rate financing for this sale. In addition, we will have our people, boots on the ground at the auction site, so you can talk to them about any piece of equipment. We're also sharing the phone numbers of the Van Wall territory manager that traded it in, so you can talk to them about the machine. They know the customer, they know the machine, and they will help you understand which machine you might want to bid on.
Transparency is key in every form of business. Customer service is what Van Wall has been known for. And that's why I think, Don, people are going to really appreciate bidding and buying from your list of equipment on that particular sale.
Don, there's not been one thing you've said here that didn't hit the mark exactly. Full disclosure, everything you've said is right on the money. You actually sound like an auctioneer promoting that sale.
I really believe in my people and I believe in my customers. We've got the best farmers in the world right here in Central Iowa.
Nice.
Great people, great opportunities. We want to thank Don once again for participating in today's podcast, and we're getting geared up for this outstanding, the biggest and the best event that's coming up here during Farm Progress at the end of August. Check it all out on Sullivan Auctioneers and BigIron.com. And we want to thank you very much once again, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.